Hey everyone, thanks for starting to play games. My name is Lance, and today I'm going to teach you how to play the Liberation of Rietburg. This is a brand new game by Cosmos Games. It is a 2 to 4 player game that takes roughly 30 to 60 minutes to play, and is a fully cooperative game where the players are going to take on the role of heroes, trying to defend the castle and defeat the dragon before time runs out. If the dragon shows up, the game is over and he has destroyed the kingdom. So it's going to be up to you as the players to try to save the day. In order to do this, you're going to have to complete 4 tasks before your narrative deck runs out. So in this video, I'm going to teach you how to play, starting with components, setup, player turns, and in-game conditions. As always, if you find these videos helpful, if you like what I do, please consider that like button, subscribe to my channel. It's one of the easiest ways you can support channels like mine, so I can continue to grow and produce these videos. If you want to stay updated on all my videos, also consider ringing that bell so you get notifications anytime I release new content. Let's head to the table, and I'll teach you guys how to play. There are 5 different decks of cards included in the game. The first deck I want to go over are the encounter cards, and this deck is going to be comprised of 2 different types of cards, monster cards and item cards. With each one of the monster cards, you're going to have the monster's battle strength in the top corner, and in order to defeat the monster, you have to play a hero's card, or multiple heroes have to play a card that will equal or beat that value. Then you have the monster's name and any rewards that that monster gives you. Some of the monster cards will also have a coin in the top corner, which you'll be able to spend later in the game as you have beat those monsters. And then moving over to the items, each item will list if it is a one use up in the top corner, then the item's name and the conditions or effects that my item has when you play it. And then some items will have a cost again, which you'll have to take that number of coins out of your victory pile, which is where these come into play with the monsters that have the coins. Once you are experienced with the game, you can also choose to add in the harder monsters, which are the monsters with the red background here. And there'll be 11 of these cards included in the game. Your first couple of games, I recommend not including these, and I'll show you this more during setup. The next deck of cards are the narrator cards, and these will have multiple uses. At the start of the game during setup, you'll use these cards to populate the different locations, and then after that, there'll be a certain number of narrator cards that are placed on the board, and if you ever have to draw a narrator card and there aren't any, then the game is over and the players have lost. On the backside of each of these cards, it is broken down into 2 sections. At the top of each one of these sections is going to be flavor text or backstory the players can read to help set the mood, and then it's going to show an image of an encounter card, whether it's face up or face down, and then the location you'll place that card. And some of the different narrator cards will even have you placing multiple encounter cards. And I'll go into more of this during setup. The third deck of cards are the task cards, and these are the cards the players are trying to complete throughout the game. Each one of these cards is going to have a name of the card, and then a prerequisite that must be true in order for the players to complete that card. For example, with the Black Herald, you must already have completed 3 other tasks, and at least 1 location must have no encounter cards. If those are true, then when a player is at this location, he can complete that task card. Some task cards will also have a blue little section up in the top corner that must be resolved as soon as that task card is revealed. The fourth deck of cards are the friend cards, and the players will collect these throughout the game as rewards for beating certain types of monsters. Each one of these cards will have the name of the friend and then its effects or conditions that will be resolved. And when you play one of these cards, you can choose not to resolve the effects of the card. You can simply use it as a placeholder as the card that you played for your turn. And the last set of cards I want to go over are the hero cards. Each hero is going to have 3 hero cards, except for Orphan, who has 4. Some of the heroes are also going to have a special ability, which I'll cover those in more detail at the end of the video for those that are interested. Otherwise, each hero's card has 3 different sections on it, which have actions within it and are separated by the or sign. When you play a hero's card, you're going to choose one of these sections and resolve the action or actions within it. When a section has multiple different actions that you can resolve, you can do those in any order you choose. For example, with this card, I could choose to attack first and then gain the willpower point, or I can gain the willpower point first and then attack, potentially using that point in that attack if I need it. To set up the game, go ahead and place out the main game board in the center of the table, and then each player is going to choose 1 or more characters they want to play as. If this is your first game, as you can see on this chart, there's a recommended selection of characters to play based on the number of players. You can, of course, play with any players, but some of the players do have some more complicated parts to them, and again, I'll explain that at the end of the video. For my game, I'm going to set up for 3 players, and I'm going to go ahead and use Orphan, Jada, and Thorn. Each player is also going to gain that character's standee and any tokens associated with that character. And then each player can place their standees on the starting location, which is number 6. I would also recommend placing out the reference cards for all the players, especially new players, as it'll break down all the different icons you'll find on the hero cards and on some of the other cards, including encounter cards. Next, go ahead and place out the willpower points and the quivers in the center of the table, and with the quivers, go ahead and shuffle them up and place them all with the quiver side up. For this video, I'll be using the Crystal Fortress pod sets. If you want to know more information about those, I'll have a link in the description below to the website. From there, go ahead and grab the task deck and shuffle that up and deal out 6 tasks, one on each of the locations with the little doors opening on it. Any other tasks that you have remaining can be returned to the box as you won't use them for this game, or alternatively, you can leave them out off to the side because there will be some effects or cards that will let you change out tasks. From there, go ahead and grab the encounter deck, and if you want to include the harder encounters, you can do that as well. For the first couple games, it's recommended not to, and these again are the ones with the red bottom on them. For this game, I will not be using those, so I'm going to place those off to the side. The rest of the encounters can be shuffled up, and then you're going to place out one face down on each location to start with. The rest of the deck can be set above the board. From there, go ahead and grab the narrator deck, and you're going to resolve 2 of these cards per character that's out there. So since I'm playing with a 3-player game, I'll resolve 6 of these cards. Each card, when flipped over, is going to be broken down into 2 sections. You can read the flavor text if you want to, and then follow the directions on the card. So for this one, I'm going to place 2 encounters face up on location 6. Then on the bottom of the card, again, if you're playing an easier game, you can choose not to resolve any red background sections, but I will. So I'm going to go ahead and place a encounter face down on location 4, as it shows 1 card showing the face down onto location 4. Going to the next card, I have 1 card face up on location 1 and 1 card face down on location 2. Once you've handled all that, then you're going to deal 10 narrator cards to the top location here above the dragon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then again, with any remaining narrator cards you have, you can place those above the table. The cards you used to place out the encounters can be returned to the box, as you'll never reuse narrator cards. There are a couple of effects or cards that will allow you to add additional narrator cards to the deck, and that's the only reason you're leaving those out. And then finally, go ahead and shuffle up the friends deck and place that out on its location. You're also going to want to leave a section on the side of the board or somewhere else on the table for your gallery of trophies that you're going to have throughout the game, and I'll go into more detail about that a little later. Liberation of Rietburg is played over an undefined number of turns. Starting with the player that is selected as the starting player and proceeding around the board in a clockwise manner, players are going to continue taking turns consecutively. During a player's turn, that player will have an option to perform one of 2 different types of actions and any number of free actions. This is going to continue until the players are able to complete 4 out of the 6 tasks that are out there, winning the game, or until one of the players is required to draw a narrative card from the narrative deck, and that deck is empty. The players will immediately lose the game. The last step before beginning the game is to collectively choose one of the characters to be the starting character, and you can do this in any manner you want to. For my game, I'm going to have Orphan be the starting character, and then we're ready to begin the game. Moving into the game itself, you're going to start with the starting character and proceed in a clockwise manner. During each character's turn, they must perform one of 2 different actions that they can choose from. These actions are to either play a card from their hand or to go through a hero revitalization. Also, you can perform an additional free actions during your turn. You can do this before your action or after, and anywhere in between. And I'm going to go through each one of these in more detail. The first action I'm going to look at is to play a card from your hero's hands. Initially, this is just going to be the hero cards that you have in your hand, but later on in the game, this can also include the friend cards or item cards that you collect throughout the game. And I'll show you more on that in a little bit. First off, with the hero cards, again, when we choose one of the hero cards, each one has 3 different sections we can choose from, and then within that section, there might be multiple actions that you can perform within that. And again, you can choose those in any order. Now there's a whole collection of actions that are on a reference card and also on the back of the rule book. So I'm not going to go through every single one of these, as some of them are unique to individual characters as well, but I'm going to cover most of the basics that are on most of the cards. The first type of action I'm going to look at is the movement icon, which is going to be the boot with a number next to it. And the number is the number of movement points you have. For each movement point that you spend, you can move your character from his space to any other space on the board. You do not have to do it in order. So for example, I could move from location 6 over to location 2. Then I can perform actions or other actions that are on my card or free actions. And then if I have another movement point, I could move somewhere else. Alternatively, let's go ahead and say that we look at the movement 2. Let's say that my hero wants to move over here, but he's going to want some help fighting that character. So then he can spend his second movement point to move another character to his location. That character, of course, can choose whether or not they want to do it, but he is allowed to use a movement point to move another character to that location. And it has to be at the location that he's currently at. Now, the other thing is that you can break up your movement if you have multiple points. So let's go ahead and say that there was an item here instead, and our character was here, and he chose to spend the 2 movement. He could move here for his first movement point, spend his free actions to pick up items at that location, adding them to his hand, and then his second movement point, he could move somewhere else. When choosing to perform the turn over the face down encounter card action, this will allow you to turn over a face down encounter anywhere on the board. You do not have to be at that location, and the number of cards you can flip over is based on the number on the card of the action. So for example, the Orphan here, this one allows him to turn over 1 face down encounter. So let's say that he chooses this location here to turn over. Now, if that number would have been 2, then he could have chose another location to turn over the top encounter card of that location. If you choose an action that allows you to gain a willpower point, you'll simply take one from the stack and add it next to your character. To attack an enemy, you're going to choose an action with a battle strength on it. You're going to compare your battle strength to your enemy's battle strength, and if your battle strength is equal to or greater than your enemy's, you have defeated that enemy. If it is less than that enemy, then you have not defeated that enemy. You can also choose to use 1 or more willpower points if you have any available. So let's go ahead and look at an example of this. With Orphan, he played a battle strength of 2, and the Flugers have a special way of calculating their battle strength, which is based on the number of face-up enemies anywhere on the board. So right now, this Fluger is a 1, 2, 3 battle strength to Orphan's 2 battle strength. But let's go ahead and say he spends this willpower point, and that'll make him equal to the enemies, defeating that enemy. Now, once you've defeated an enemy, you get to resolve any effects at the bottom of the card. So with the Fluger, it says, after a victorious battle, you may turn over 1 face-down encounter card anywhere on the board. So let's go ahead and turn over this one here. And then this enemy will be added to your victory pile, and it's going to be based on the type of enemy, and I'll go into that in more detail in a little bit. Now, the other type of attack is a group attack. So let's go ahead and say that instead, we had this enemy over here, and he's a battle strength 5. So let's say that this is the only card that Orphan has, so he's going to need help. So he can ask one of the other heroes at his current location to help him out. In order to do that, that hero will also get to choose one of his cards and play it. Now, that hero can also choose to spend willpower points if that hero has them. And both cards will be counted as the attack, but the active character is the only one that's going to benefit from any rewards that are listed on the monster's card. Now that you see how enemies are defeated, I want to talk about the trophy pile. So this is going to be broken down into 3 different piles. Your first pile is going to contain any item or any monster that has coins in it. So let's go ahead and say that we had these 3 here. So these would all go into this first pile. And later on in the game, anytime you're required to spend a coin or multiple coins, you're going to take the monsters or items from this pile and discard them completely. The second pile is going to contain any Flugers that you defeat, and this is going to be important as there is a task card where you have to defeat a certain number of these, so that's why you're tracking those. And the final pile is going to contain any items that you've used or any monsters that don't have any other coins or anything like that on them. One other note with combat is with Cheta, she is going to work a little bit differently as she is going to be using the quivers, and I'm going to cover her in more detail at the end of the video when I cover all of the character special abilities. Another action I want to take a look at is turning over a face down task card. So this one is going to allow you to do this at any location of your choosing, and even if there's encounters still on that task card, it allows you to turn that over. So that is going to cover the majority of the actions you're going to be taking. Again, the overview reference card and the back of the rulebook covers all the other examples, as I don't want to go through all of those, as there's quite a few on these cards. And most of these are very specific to certain characters, and I feel like the card and the back of the rulebook does an excellent job going through all the details on those. The other type of action a player can choose to perform is a hero revitalization. And this action must be taken if a player cannot or chooses not to play a card from their hand during their turn. A player can also choose to take this action even if they have cards remaining in their hands. When choosing this action, you're going to regain any hero cards you've already played and any friend cards. Remember that item cards are one use only, so once you use those, they're going to be added to the victory pile and not into your discard pile to go back into your hands. So let's go ahead and say, for example, with Orphan here, that he had played all of his hero cards. So during his turn, he must choose to do a hero revitalization. So to start this, you're going to take the top narrator card from the narrator deck and follow the instructions on it just like during setup. So with this one, I would add a face down encounter to location 5. And I'll also add a face down encounter to the location my hero currently is at. And again, if you're trying to make your games easier, you can choose not to follow the red background cards on those. Once this is resolved, you'll go ahead and place this in the discard pile, and then your hero can regain all of their cards, again, including the hero cards and any friend cards that they've gained at this point. One other important note with handling narrator cards or other cards that have you place out encounter cards, if the encounter deck ever runs out and you must place out a new encounter card, you also are going to lose the game. Now that I've gone through the two different types of actions you can perform, I also want to talk about free actions, as you can perform any number of free actions anytime during your turn, including before you perform your action and after you perform your action. There are 4 different types of free actions you can choose to perform. The first one is to gain or pick up an object that is lying at your location that's face up. So let's go ahead and say, for example, with Orphan, he had chosen to take that action to attack the Pfluger there and defeated it. So there is an item at his current location that's face up. So as a free action, even though he has completed his regular action, he can choose to take this item and add it to his hands. The next card happens to be another item, so again he can choose to perform another free action to gain that item as well. So let's go ahead and say that he does that. And then he can also choose the next type of free action, which is to pass friends and objects from your hands to another character's hands that is at your current location. And since both of the other characters are at his location, he can choose to pass an object or a friend that he has in his possession to one of them. So let's go ahead and say that he chooses to pass an item to Thorn. And again, he can do this any number of times with any of the characters that are at his location. The next one is to turn over a face-down task card at an encounter location that does not have any encounters left. So let's go ahead and say, for example, that this encounter wasn't here, and all we had at this location was a face-down task card. As a free action, we can choose to flip that over, and then we'll check and make sure there isn't anything we have to resolve immediately. And the last type of free action is to complete a task card if you're able to. So for example, with the Drunk Control, this one says you must collectively have 3 friends, which means among the heroes that are playing, they must have a total of 3 friends among them. Currently I do not, so I cannot perform that free action to complete that task. And again, when completing or revealing tasks, I have to be at the location of that task. I cannot choose to do that at a different location if I'm not currently at it. Now that I've taken you through all the different actions and free actions, I want to put all this together and show you some example turns. So again, moving into my game, Orphan's going to be my starting character, so I'm going to choose one of his cards to play. I'm going to go ahead and choose this one here, and I'm going to choose this top action perform, which allows me to perform an attack and a movement. So I'm going to go ahead and move first, and I'm going to move him over here, and then I'm going to perform the attack action, which again, I compare my battle strength to my enemy's. If it is equal to or higher than, I defeat that enemy, so I do. And then I get to resolve the victory conditions at the bottom. So it says that after a victorious battle, I receive 1 gold, so that'll go into my gold for my trophy pile. and I can perform one free movement. So this one lets me move either my character or another character again. So I'm going to go ahead and bring, let's go ahead and bring over that character. So at this point, then, if I had any other free actions I could do, I can also carry those out. I don't, so it's going to move on to the next character in clockwise order. So my archer there is going to look at her hands and choose one of her cards to play. So with her card, she is going to, I'm going to go ahead and do this one here and see if I can get a decent quiver. So I'm going to go ahead and take this one here, and it's a 7. So then I can perform an attack action. So this allows me to attack the troll. I am not going to have enough as my quiver is only a 7. So I'm going to ask Orphan to help me out in a group battle. So he agrees, and he's going to play that battle 2 card, or he's going to play that card with and choose that top action. So combining the two of them together, that it totals 9, defeating that troll. And it says, after a victorious battle, I receive 1 friend card. And so this is going to go to my archer, as she is the one that initiated that battle. And let's see what she has. So she got the Water Magician, and this one allows you to move any one hero to a location of your choice. So that is a decent friend. From there, it's going to move over to Thorn to go. So he is going to choose one of his cards, and I will go ahead and take, I'm going to go ahead and take the reveal action, or turn over a face down encounter, and this one lets me do 2 of them. So I'm going to go ahead and choose this location here as my friends are at that location, and I will also choose this location here. That is all he can do, and I don't have any free actions to perform, so then it's on to my next character, so Orphan again. And I don't have a high enough battle strength on either one of his cards, and I don't necessarily want to go for help again. So I am going to play this one here. And this, I'm going to again choose that top action, but I'm going to move first. So I'm going to move back to my starting location, and then I'll do that attack action. Again, I calculate the Pfluger's strength, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and my battle strength is 4 as well, so I defeat that one. And I get to flip over a face down encounter, so I'm going to go ahead and choose this top one here. And then I do have an item at my location, so I'm going to take that free action to pick up that item and add it to my hands. I'm going to do it again with this second item, and then I'm going to do a trade action or a pass action to give that item to my friend there at that location. Back over to my archer to go, so she is going to look at her hands, and she is going to use her friend card, and this is going to let her move any hero to her location. Again, that player has to agree to it, but I'm going to choose Thorn, and he does agree, so he's going to come over to my location. Moving back over to Thorn then, he is going to play one of his cards. So he's going to go ahead and choose to play his battle card of Strength 6, defeating this enemy here. And it says, after a victorious battle, I can remove the top face down encounter card without looking at it. So with this one, again, I can choose any location. So I'm going to go ahead and choose this location. Let's go ahead and do this one here. Wait, yeah, I'll do this one. So this is going to be removed. I do not look at it at all, so it'll simply be removed from the playing area. Then this goes into my victory pile. And now I have a task card that is not covered up, so I'm going to go ahead and reveal it as a free action. And with this one, it says, first select 2 creatures from your trophy pile, shuffle them, and place them face down on this task card. So I'm going to go ahead and choose this one here, and I'll go ahead and take this one. Again, these will be shuffled up and placed face down on this task card. So I have to complete these before I can complete the task card. All right, moving back over to Orphan, he is going to play a card. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and do a hero revitalization. So I'm going to gain these back into my hands. And then I also have to handle a narrator card. So with this one, it's going to have me place a face down card at location 5. And a face down card at my current location. And then this one goes away. And this is going to continue until one of the endgame conditions is met. Again, our characters are trying to reveal 4 out of these 6 locations and resolve those task cards before the narrator deck runs out. If a character is ever required to handle a narrator card and there isn't any cards there to draw, the game is over immediately as the dragon has shown up and destroyed you. Alternatively, if you have to do an encounter card and there are no counter cards in the deck, that is also going to be a condition that's going to cause your characters to lose the game. Otherwise, if they're able to complete those 4 tasks before either one of those ending conditions are met, they have won the game. And the last thing I want to go over are each one of the heroes, as some of them are going to have abilities that are unique to them, and some of them will even have tokens that only they will use. So the first hero I have is Thorn, and he is the most basic out of the heroes. He only has one ability that is unique to him, which is that he is allowed to eliminate a face-down encounter card. He can do this at any location, not just the one he is at, and when he chooses one, he's simply going to remove it from the game and add it back to the box. He will not reveal it or add it to the trophy pile. Orphan is going to come with 4 cards instead of the normal 3 that every other hero has, and then he also has a special ability that lets him move a face-up encounter card to his location. So let's go ahead and say that he was over here, and he wanted to bring this card over to him. So he played one of these cards that gave him that ability, and he would move the top card to his location. Cheta the Archer is the first hero that is going to use tokens, which are going to be the quivers. Some of her actions will list a quiver with a number on it, which allows her to gain 1 quiver from the pile. She chooses one and reveals it face up and places it next to her area. Then when she uses the attacks with the question mark in the quiver, she will choose one of the quivers that she has and discard it using its power to defeat enemies. Some of her actions, such as this one here, lets her use 1 or 2 quivers on her attack, and if she uses 2, she'll add those together. Each quiver is a single use, so you'll discard it back to the box after it is used. And if you ever run out of quivers, then you can gain all those back and reshuffle them up and make new piles. Now, the other unique thing with her is that she cannot use willpower points. With her quiver abilities, she is not able to use these, so she will never gain willpower points, nor can she use them. The other thing that she has is one other special ability that lets her turn up a face-down encounter card or turn a face-up encounter card face down, which can be very powerful when you combine it with Thorn's ability of eliminating a face-down encounter. So if you're running up against a creature that is really nasty or really powerful, you could use her ability first to flip it face down, and then Thorn's ability to eliminate it from the game. Cram the Dwarf has a double-sided battle axe that's always going to have the +4 side face up at the beginning of the game. And then during a battle phase, he can choose to use that +4 with his battle strength on one of his cards that he plays. This can be used to bring down a very powerful enemy. So let's go ahead and say, for example, that he goes up against this troll here that's a 9. He plays his 5 battle strength card, and then he flips over the axe using the +4 side. That'll make a total of 9, defeating that troll. Now, once you flip over the axe, for the rest of the game, you can add the +1 to every attack that you do, or you can also choose to spend 2 gold from your trophy pile and flip the axe back over to its more powerful side. Keela is going to have a couple of unique abilities as well as the Water Spirit token. So first off, with unique abilities, she has one that lets her move a face-down encounter to her location. So let's go ahead and say that she was up here. She could choose another face-down location anywhere on the board and move it to her location. The other one is that she can swap 2 face-up encounter cards at any location, and she does not have to be at these locations. So let's go ahead and say that Crum was fighting, but he didn't have enough to beat the troll, but he might have enough to beat the other enemy, so we could do a swap to trade those enemies out. And finally, she has a Water Spirit token, which is double-sided, with one side adding ×2 to her battle strength, or multiplying her battle strength by 2, add the location she's at if she's at a location with the Water Spirit. So let's go ahead and say that she was down here with Crum, and she chose that side. So if she played this card, it would double her battle strength to 10, where she could defeat that troll. And this is going to stay here until she plays another action with the Water Spirit icon that'll let her move the Water Spirit to another location. Now the other side is going to add +2 to each hero that's at that location that does a battle. And this includes group battles. Now this does not apply to any items or friend cards. It has to be for the battle cards for the players to get benefits for this. And again, each time she chooses to play a water spirit action, she can either flip the water spirit over to its other side or choose to move it to another location with the side that it has up already to that location. Now, at the beginning of the game, the water spirit starts off the table in her area, and then when she plays her first action, she chooses a location to place it at. And the last hero is Ira the Sorceress. So with her, she has one special ability, and she also has spellbook tokens. So first, with her special ability, it allows her to regain a used action card that she already used this turn, or she can also choose another hero to regain one of the action cards that they already used. Now, with her spellbook tokens, you'll notice she does not have any battle strength. She has either one spellbook or two spellbooks, and with those, she can choose any order to use those books in. So for example, if she chose this action up here with the two spellbooks, she could choose to do an attack action with one, and then she could choose to do a move action with the other, and again, she can choose the order which she uses those. Each time she uses a spellbook, she'll flip it over to its used side, and she will not get those spellbooks back until she does a hero revitalization. When she gains back all of her cards, she also gets to flip over those tokens. Now, the one other token that I want to point out is the 3 battle strength, as it has the green glow around it, and with that one, she can choose to use that at range targeting any enemy on the board. She can even do this with group battles. So let's go ahead and say that she was up here, and it was Thorn's turn. He wanted to do an attack on this creature here that's a battle strength of 6. His only card that he had was a battle strength of 4, so he's not quite high enough to defeat that creature. But he asks the sorceress for help, and she goes ahead and uses this token here with this card to help him out and do 3 damage at range to that attack. Now, the one important thing I want to note with this is if the water spirit is out, giving that +2 to each hero, then she would not benefit from that ability, no matter which location it was at. Well, I hope you found that video helpful. If you have any questions or comments, or if anything was unclear, leave those in the comment section below and I'll do my best to answer them. As always, thank you so much for taking the time to watch my videos and leave me feedback on them. I do really appreciate it, and to take into account everything you say to make the best possible videos. As always, if you have any requests on other games you'd like to see teaching videos for, or playthroughs or whatever, let me know in the comments as well. I'd love to start a conversation with you. And until next time, I'll see you later.